Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is my Jabhat al-Nusra cat because she is always wearing black. She is a strong fighter, and because she wants to make this room her caliphate. This paper was written in 2014. In 2014, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria had control over a great territory in Syria, and they were publishing videos, pictures of all of their development projects, including their execution videos. So this is written by me in 2014 how I was looking at all of the situation. The duty of leaders in leadership is to serve people as a guidepost. People in confusion and unsure of what to decide for themselves in terms of how to plan and anticipate and to make corrections and gather materials. This is a sign about the need for leadership in that area. The leader cannot simply be standing on one side of a ravine, calling out for people at the other side. The leader must tell them how to get there. A part of the complications which accrued from the Syrian Revolutionary War, with the resources that they did have, the Free Syrian Army did not take down Bashar al-Assad, despite that this was the sole and ultimate military objective. It is not lost on the public that this war is not for the partition of Syria. It is done for the removal of an evil dictator. We may only speculate, and the danger in publicly conversing about the fact that a large-scale military strike directly against the presidential palace has been stalled, delayed, impeded, or postponed. When we see a Florida man who became an Al-Qaeda-linked suicide bomber in Syria with so and so many tons of explosives, and wonder, why did he fail to drive that straight up to the government district in Damascus? What exactly was he and that armed faction doing? And if the war is for one single purpose, to remove the regime, why have broken factions stationed all throughout the districts of Syria with concentration on fighting other army men who may or may not be hostages of the crisis? In a scenario of increased military power on part of the Free Syrian Army, the targets likely would be missile defense systems. This is not a clear or easily audited target, nor feasible to destroy it without long, protracted military engagement. The defeat of the administration itself, however, is a vulnerable and high-value target. Without the diplomatic power of the internationally recognized and upheld officialdom of the sovereign presidency, the allies of the Syrian administration will start an offensive and likely stop all friendly negotiations with the Foreign Alliance, and Free Army and coalition forces. Knowing this is the case, the Revolutionary War is actually a standoff. There is no reason to expect that this can be resolved without deep treachery, which will incapacitate huge groups of the enemy forces. And these movements have not yet been initiated. The only clear strategies for dissolution are on the Coalition and Free Army Council side, referrals to the International Criminal Court for war crimes and crimes against humanity, and on the administration side, infiltration of hostile groups with the civilian military defenses of the Free Syrian Army. the unrealistic expectations of the civilians in the war zone to have restoration of genuine security is expanded by the indications they are given, or the lack of indications available to take fair notice of. The foremost issue is a delusion about the integrity of Bashar al-Assad as a result of the foreign support that he was given in order to perpetuate his ministry's operations. The state of Syria is economically devastated, having incurred permanent repercussions from the Revolutionary War, which will indebt future generations. The people largely are unperceiving of the cost which they themselves will be left with the liability of. The election of Bashar al-Assad to another term of presidency took fantastic thinking, very far misled from the real state of the nation. Syria does not need to take responsibility for the promotion of an official that is so hotly contested strictly out of virtue, and if there is expertise that cannot be transferred, there is a problem of the legitimacy and expectation of how a nation-state must be administered. As suspected, it is the private stakeholdings whose ownerships are refused to be transferred and not involving the country's government in reality. Syria is independent of need for Bashar al-Assad and his administration to continue representing the nation in the formal offices of governance. In a basic respect to these notions, genuine security throughout Syria is unrealistic at this time in 2014. Allahu Akbar.